Welcome to the Secular Homeschool Revolution podcast. I am your host, Ashley, and I'm bringing you a mini episode, and it is addressed and it is for allies, white allies, progressive allies. And I want to be clear from the start that this is not a comfort check-in. I'm not checking in on your feelings. This is for accountability. We are living through a moment in history. We have ice in our streets. State power is being expanded, where allyship lives only in language and posts and in feelings, and that's just not enough. That's insufficient, and it is harmful. Because this moment did not come out of nowhere. In the Ballot or the Bullet by Malcolm X, he warned us about white liberals who promised reform, who wanted reform. They preached about it and they claimed solidarity. But at the same time, they were still preserving and upholding the systems that were killing Black people. And he was not talking about extremists. He was talking about people who saw themselves as good. People who believed intention mattered more than outcome. People who slowed justice down in the name of order. That warning is playing out right now. And in liberal and progressive social media spaces that I'm a part of, I am seeing these allies centering their discomfort. And yes, I agree. It is scary right now. But fear does not give you the right to take over the conversation. What I'm seeing is post after post about how overwhelmed you feel, how you're anxious, how you are just trying to process. Meanwhile, us over here in the Black and brown communities, we are not processing shit. We are surviving and we are organizing and we are hiding and burying people. When your fear becomes the focal point, state violence gets reframed as like a group therapy session for white liberals, and urgency dies right there. And that is not accidental. That's a pattern. So what they're doing in Minnesota is revolutionary. It is being led, and it's not being led by Black civil rights activists. This is them. So we need y'all to pick up the pace in all the other states. And it's also, get back on track, I've seen the TikToks where white liberal allies are scolding the Black community, trying to make us feel bad, tell us that we're being divisive, and telling us our anger is not helpful, it's misguided, and we need to show up, and all of these things. But we saw how y'all voted. A part of y'all voted, and we've been telling y'all. We've been telling you about the policing and the surveillance and immigration enforcement and how these systems have expanded quietly and that they're getting pointed at more and more people. We warned y'all. And y'all smiled about it. And y'all were like, well, I'll make some social media posts. I'll make a I voted sticker. It had to be heavier than that. Y'all needed to do more. And now that ICE feels closer to your door, y'all are feeling a sense of urgency. And this is where allyship stops being an identity and actually becomes a behavior. Anybody can put, on their LinkedIn or whatever, activists, equity, all of those things. But right now, this is where you need to put your foot to the ground. You don't need to do any more think pieces. You don't need to target any more Black people on your posts. You don't need to try and reprimand any Black or brown people. You don't need reassurance. You don't need any of that. You know what you need to do? You need to call out your people. Call out your people at the dinner table, in the group chat, in your little progressive spaces, that you hide around when you're being nice. You need to stop that. In your homeschooling communities that claim that they're inclusive, you need to call it out. And if you're in a homeschooling community that is quote unquote diverse and inclusive, but there's no diversity, that you need a mirror. And the leadership in that community needs a mirror. And it could be where you are at locally. But when I Google diverse and inclusive homeschooling spaces, a lot of them aren't diverse. So we need to think about that. What is happening there? You need to risk being uncomfortable, risk being disliked by these people, risk being told you're doing too much, because this is the work. This is the work we're talking about. And I guess I don't know. There's so much I want to touch on, but I don't want to make it a long episode. We'll see where it takes us. and since we're here, I do want to talk about the say her name, because I feel like a lot of you guys are using it wrong. Or I know y'all are using it wrong. Say her name is not a slogan, and it's not cute and fun and trending. It's not selective. It is not something you deploy when the story feels easier to hold. When the Black community says say her name, we are demanding that Black women killed by the state are not erased, because history shows they always are. So yes, say Renee Good. You can say her name loudly. You can say it consistently, but you don't get to say her name and then forget Keith Porter Jr. You don't get to narrow the story when it becomes convenient to you. And the media is going to do what it's going to show you Renee Good. It's going to show you Alex Preddy. Like, it's going to do those things, and it's going to linger on those specific things because they fit the narrative of like good white people to an extent. But Keith Porter Jr. didn't. And he's missing from a lot of your signs and your social media posts. And so we expect the media to do it, but as an ally, you should do more and do better. What's not optional in all of this is your responsibility. It is your job to say the names the media won't repeat, to hold multiple truths at once, and to refuse selective outrage. Say her name doesn't mean say one name and then you get to move on. It means name the pattern. You got to name the system, and it means refusing to forget. And this brings me to something we need to name directly: kind white people. Kind white people are not the same ones as just people. Kind white people say the right things, they share the posts, they use the language. But where are they when the work gets a little uncomfortable? They're over there in their calm truth, because they value politeness over disruption and intention over impact. They want justice. They just don't want the tension to get to the justice. So we're just not going to get the justice. And that, my friends, is dangerous, because oppression does not need cruelties to survive. You know what it needs? It needs politeness. Kind white people avoid conflict, they avoid accountability, and they avoid making things awkward. So what happens? The system stays the same because they're too busy smiling about it and not calling people out. So if your allyship disappears when consequences show up, if it only exists online, or if you're more disturbed by Black anger than state violence, that is not solidarity, my friend. That is performance. And to tie this into homeschooling, because this is a homeschooling podcast, if you're homeschooling your kids and you are claiming to raise critical thinkers who are justice-centered, who are future change makers, you do have to understand it starts with you, because they're going to receive so much more by watching you and what you do when the stakes are real than you just giving them a book to learn about different resistance movements when we are living in one right now. So no, you don't need comfort right now. You need courage. You need to find the courage. This moment doesn't need more kind white people. It needs brave ones. And this has been the conclusion of the Secular Homeschool Revolution mini episode. Please do your part and stay revolutionary.